Hi, BookTube. This is Lindsay from Lindsay Reads, and this is my cat's tail. Right when I decide to film a video, my cat decides, no, it's time, it's me time. I need to pet the Winnie cat. I wanted to talk about my February TBR. These are some of the books I'm hoping to get to this February. I'm so excited to talk about them because I'm so excited to read them. So let's jump right in. The first book is a nonfiction book. It's Into the Hands of the Soldiers, Freedom and Chaos in Egypt and the Middle East by David D. Kirkpatrick. And the short little description here is a candid narrative of how and why the Arab Spring sparked and then failed, and the truth about America's role in that failure and the subsequent military coup that put ISIS in power, from the Middle East correspondence of the New York Times. And so this is about, I think it was starting in 2011, how these countries, I think it was like mainly like each, honestly, I don't know, as you can tell, I don't know as much about it as I want to, hence me reading the book, but I think it started in Egypt in 2011, how, you know, these people had been suppressed through these like dictatorships and autocracies, and how they, you know, rebelled and were like anti-government, and it sparked off this whole thing. It's like freedom and chaos. And so this is a book that I want to get to this month, and hopefully I'll be way more informed once I've read the book. This next book, let's see if I can make it bigger. Here we go. It's Winter by Allie Smith with a pretty blue cover for winter. And I've read the first book, Autumn, I think a year or two ago, and this is the second book in her seasonal series. Let's see. The world shrinks, the sap sinks, but winter makes things visible. And if there's ice, there'll be fire. And so she said, it says, in Allie Smith's Winter, life force matches up to the toughest of the seasons. In the second novel in her acclaimed seasonal cycle, the follow-up to her sensational Autumn, Smith's shape-shifting quartet of novels cast a merry eye over a bleak post-truth era with a story rooted in history, memory, and warmth, and its taproot deep into the evergreens, art, love, and laughter. And so this is like, from what I gather, you know, she's talking about the season of winter. Oh, sorry, my cat's being annoying. Season of winter, but also, you know, humanity and, you know, what's going on with it. I'm not sure what all the novel's about. I feel silly maybe even talking about it, but I just thought I would let you know this is the book that's on my list. Okay, this next book, since it's February and Valentine's Day is coming up, I thought I would include some romance. This is a historical fiction romance, The Letters, by Suzanne Woods Fisher. And this, as you can tell from the cover with her headdress, this is like an Amish historical fiction. And as a kid, I loved reading historical fiction, and I was always fascinated by the Amish and the Mennonites because they were so different from what I, you know as a kid. You know, the Amish, they don't use electricity. You know, they're a religious group. And, you know, it's all, you know, they're farming communities. And I just thought it was, like, fascinating. So I thought, when I was looking around for some romance books to pick up, and I saw this one, I thought it'd be good for me to kind of get back into a kind of genre that I was always fascinated by as a kid. Okay, so this next one is back to nonfiction. One that just came in through my library hold, and I am so excited. I've been waiting months for this book ever since I heard about it. And it's gotten rave reviews. It's The Library by Susan Orlean. And this is, at first when I heard about it, I wasn't too interested because it was about an LA fire, a library that burned in a fire in 1986. And at first I wasn't interested. Like, why am I going to read a book about this, you know, obscure, you know, library that I have no connection to? But when I heard people review it, they were talking about, you know, it's about that, yes, but it's also about her love of libraries. And I love libraries. I use them every day. And so I love like books about books, or anything about to do with like reading, and so I will be surprised if I'm disappointed by this book. This next book that I'm planning to get to in February is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. The Mortal Instruments series, number 1. This is like a YA fantasy book. I have seen this book make its rounds on BookTube, but I've never been inclined to read it. But like I said, for February, I was looking into like more of like a romance leaning for this month, and I thought, why not give it a shot, see if I can get through it. I mean, I'll try my best. It says it's about Clary Faye, who's 15, and she's going to the Pandemonium Club, and it's like she meets with these shadow hunters, warriors dedicated to ridding the earth of demons. And so I'm assuming it's going to be, maybe her romance with the people there, and, her story of learning how to fight. We'll see how that goes. This next book also has City in the title. It's a really cool cover. The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. And this is a historical fiction fantasy because it's set in the 1800s, and the character's name is Nari. And she is like a con man. She let's see what it says. She does palm readings and healings, but she knows it's fake. She knows it's not real, but it's just her way of making a living in the 1800s. And then she doesn't believe in magic at all. And then all of a sudden, let's see what's the name of the character. Jin Warrior all of a sudden pops up and like brings her to the City of Six Gates. And so it's like bringing her into this like magical world. And so it's an interesting dynamic of she's living her life not believing in magic, and all of a sudden it's like thrown into it. And so that's what I'm planning to get to as well this month. And then the next one is Cafe by the Sea by Jenny Colgan. And here's that one. And this one is, I haven't read anything else by this author, but people kept mentioning The Bookshop on the Corner is a book she also wrote. I haven't. I'm not familiar with that one. But this one is about a woman named Flora who grows up on a Scottish island, a quiet Scottish island, and she just can't wait to get away. She goes to London. She wants to get in, to a city life. And then for some reason, she has to go back to the Scottish island later. And it's like, let's see, I think she's working for a millionaire who wants to like develop the island, from what I can gather. And, it's like her contrast of, she hates this quiet island, but it's also her hometown. And, does she want to keep it the quiet island, or does she want to citify it, is that the right word, urbanize the area for her company. Sorry, this cat hair floating around. So yeah, that's what I gather so far, and it seems like it's gonna be a contemporary romance. So let's see the next one. Because I'm reading, I'm not talking about it in this TBR. I'm also going to be doing the Betsy Tacy, the next 2 books in that installment for the read along. And it just made me think of the other childhood series that I've loved. And so I was looking through Ellen Montgomery's list of books. She didn't just read. She didn't just write the Anne of Green Gables series. She also wrote quite a few others. This one caught my eye. It's The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery, and this is it says it's the only book she wrote that was directly intended for adults, and so that intrigued me. And it says it's going to be a romance as well, and so why not for February to read that. I'll just read a quick description of this book. Valency lives a drab life with her overbearing mother and prying aunt. Then a shocking diagnosis from Dr. Trent prompts her to make a fresh start. For the first time, she does and says exactly what she feels. As she expands her limited horizons, Valency undergoes a transformation, discovering a new world of love and happiness. So yeah, that's one I'm planning to read by Ella Montgomery. And then another romance I'm planning to read, a historical romance, because I had just read Cotillion by Georgette Heyer, and it was like one of my favorite books I read in January. I thought, why not pick up another one? And so I was just scanning, what's available at my library, and this was one of them. And this is called Frederica by Georgette Heyer, and as you can tell from the cover, it's also going to be a Regency romance. I think it's what Georgette Heyer stuck to mostly, from what I can tell from her list of books. And this is rich and handsome, darling of the tongue, the hope of ambitious mothers and despair of his sisters. The Marquis of Alverstoke, at 37, sees no reason to put himself out for anyone, until a distant connection, ignorant of his selfishness, applies to him for help. When Frederica Merville brings her 3 young siblings to London to determine to secure a brilliant marriage for her beautiful sister Cherie, she seeks out their distant cousin, the Marquis of Alverstoke, lovely and competent and refreshingly straightforward. Frederica makes such a strong impression that, to his amazement, the Marquis agrees to help launch them into society. Lord Alverstoke can't resist wanting to help her. Normally wary of his family, which includes 2 Orbang sisters and innumerable favor seekers, Lord Alverstoke does his best to keep his distance. And so this just sounds like a fun read. And this last one, maybe not so fun, but it's one it's on my list to read for February, is The End of Ice. And here's the cover with a glacier. The End of Ice, bearing witness and finding meaning in the path of climate disruption. And it's by Dahir Jamal. And it says an unembedded reporter visits hotspots around the world in a global quest to discover how we will cope with our planet's changing ecosystem. And, as the seas are warming up, of course, the glaciers are melting, making the seas rise. And so he is visiting, it says he's visiting from Alaska to Australia's Great Barrier Reef via the Amazon's rainforest in order to discover the consequences to nature and to humans of the loss of ice. And of course, I want to learn more about climate change, and I know ice and the sea rising is a big part of the climate change, and so I want to learn more about that. And so these are I think it's 10. I give you 10 books I want to read in February. I'm hoping to read more, but these are the ones I'm really excited to get to. So yeah, let me know if you've heard of any of these books, if you've read any of them, and some of the books you're reading. Let me know. Okay, thank you, BookTube.